The second Hermetic principle is correspondence, summarized in the phrase most people have heard even if they know nothing else of Hermeticism: as above, so below; as below, so above. The idea is that the structure of the large mirrors the structure of the small, that the pattern governing the heavens is the same pattern at a different scale governing the human being, the cell, and the atom. Nothing is a category unto itself, sealed off from everything else. Every level of reality is a coded repetition of every other level. The Torah's version of this idea is stated in its very first chapter, and most people read past it without noticing its strangeness. In Genesis 1:27, and God created the human being in his image. In the image of God he created him. Tzelem Elokim, the image of God. Stop and ask what that could possibly mean. God, as we established last episode, cannot be pictured, has no body, has no face, and has no shape. So in what sense is a human being in God's image? The classical commentators, and this is not fringe mysticism, this is mainstream load-bearing Jewish theology, going back to the Talmud and forward through Rambam, read this as a statement about pattern, not appearance. The human being is built according to the same structural logic as the cosmos itself. We are not merely inside the universe, we are the universe, compressed and mirrored at human scale. Kabbalah gives this idea a name and an enormous amount of technical development. Adam Kadmon, the primordial human. This is not Adam, the man from the Garden of Eden. Adam Kadmon is the first configuration of divine light to emerge after the tzimtzum, the initial contraction described by the 16th century mystic Rabbi Isaac Luria, or the Ari, in which the infinite, Ein Sof, withdraws itself to make conceptual room for a finite creation to exist at all. Adam Kadmon is described in this literature in the shape of a human being: head, arms, torso, legs, not because God has a body, but because the human form is the template the entire chain of creation is organized around. The 10 Sephirot, the emanations we touched on last episode, are mapped directly onto this figure. Keter at the crown of the head, Chochmah and Bina as the right and left brain, Chesed and Gevurah as the right and left arm, Tiferet at the heart, Netzach and Hod as the legs, Yesod as the point of connection, Malchut as the feet, standing on the ground of physical reality. This is correspondence in its most explicit form. The structure of the human body is presented in the oldest strata of Jewish mysticism as a diagram of the structure of the cosmos. When the 16th century Kabbalists of Safed spoke of Olam Katan, the human being as the small world, they meant this with total precision, not as a poetic flourish. Whatever is happening at the larger scale of divine emanation is happening in compressed form inside you right now, in your capacity for kindness, judgment, beauty, endurance, and grounded action, the very qualities named by those same Sephirot. Manly Hall traced this same principle through Hermetic Egypt, through Pythagorean number mysticism, through medieval alchemy, where the human body was mapped onto the planets and metals. What he found repeatedly is that the version preserved in the Jewish sources is unusually rigorous. It isn't a loose poetic gesture. The Zohar and the writings of the Ari work out the correspondence between cosmos and human being with the precision of an engineering diagram, spelling out exactly which sephirah governs which limb, which emotional faculty, and which act of will. There is a practical consequence to this that too many people miss on both the Hermetic and the Jewish sides. If the human being genuinely corresponds to the cosmos, if your inner chesed and gevurah, your kindness and your severity, are not merely psychological metaphors, but participate in the actual structure of reality, then how you conduct the small scale of your own life is not merely personal. It has cosmic weight. This is precisely the logic behind the kabbalistic doctrine of tikkun, or repair. A single act of kindness performed by one person at the human below scale is understood to actually affect the configuration of the sephirot above, because above and below were never two separate systems. They are one system described as two resolutions. This is worth pausing on because it answers a question people often ask when they first encounter Jewish practice from the outside. Why does Judaism care so much about small specific actions? Which hand you wash first? Which blessing precedes which food? How a scroll is written? If correspondence is true, the answer is not because God is a stickler for detail. The answer is that the small scale is not small. It is the large scale, viewed from where you happen to be standing. In the next episode, we turn to vibration, the principle where nothing rests and everything moves, and the Jewish doctrine of creation through living, moving letters, still spoken into the world at every instant.